Hi everyone, Stephen here at Teach Me Music, and today we're going to be talking about stretching and warming up and what the differences are and why it's important. So everyone probably knows you should stretch and warm up before you do anything that's going to exert a lot of energy, but obviously when we play bass you might not consider the fact that you're using a lot of different muscles, and obviously if you don't just warm up and stretch, you could actually be doing pretty much a lot of damage to yourself in the long term. So it's not going to happen overnight, it's not going to happen over a few weeks, it's not going to happen over a few months. It's going to be like 2-3 years down the line where you've got like a knotted shoulder, or you've got like a slight injury, or you've got carpal tunnel, which is something that happens with the joints of the wrist, and it's basically then too late. So let's talk about stretching first, and then we're going to basically just show you a few different things you can do to help. So we're just going to go through a few different stretches to start with, just so we can basically get everything nice and limber, nice and loose, and then obviously we can start playing bass properly. So if you put your hands in the praying position, and all you want to do is push on the tips of your finger and your thumb, so it's literally like this. So flat, and then push, flat, and then push. And the reason why we do that is because you're going to have to bend from the tips of your fingers quite a lot, because you have to use the tip of your finger either when you're hitting the string or when you're pushing down on the notes, on the frets. So you want to make sure that you can just bend the finger at the very, very front like that. And the idea is that this exercise is going to help with that. So just really, really nice and simple. You can do these for 5, 10, 15 seconds. You don't have to do them for a very long time, and you don't have to do them every day, but the idea is you should do them pretty consistently, just so you don't end up injuring yourself. So that was the fingertips. Let's talk about the palm of the hand. So something that you can do is, if you take your hand out like this, remember that all of these exercises can be done on the right and the left hand as well. So just make sure that you're doing it on both hands. I'm only going to do it on one hand for this video. Just make sure you're doing it twice. So take your hand out, turn it upside down, and all you want to do is gently pull on the fingers. Don't pull your fingers all the way back to your forearm, because if you break your fingers, I'm not responsible for that. That's your own fault. So just pull gently and just kind of rock backwards and forwards. That's going to stretch all this out here for you, and it's going to stretch out the wrist just a little as well. So nice and simple like that. Do that for 5, 10, 15 seconds again. You want to do it so it feels a little bit uncomfortable, but not painful. If you're doing any of this and it's painful, you want to double check why, because it shouldn't hurt. It should just feel a little bit like uncomfortable, because it's not what you normally would do, because we don't normally exercise the hands or the fingers. So really, really dead simple. Another one you can do, which is going to stretch out this weird bit of skin here. I have no idea what it's called. You can tell me, because I have no idea. So it's going to stretch this bit out, and it's also going to stretch the wrist as well. So if you take your hand out, obviously making an L shape, because this is my left hand, which is going to be flipped for you guys, but this is my left. Then all we want to do is turn it down like that, and then swing it in. So down, swing it round, and then gently pull the thumb to your forearm. It doesn't have to touch. I can actually get my thumb to touch my forearm, but you don't have to do that. So the idea is that if the thumb is touching your forearm, awesome. If it's not, don't worry. Just swing back and forth on the thumb and do that once again for like 5, 10, 15 seconds. So really, really nice and simple. That's kind of covering all of the hand. One thing you can do as well, if you're outside playing a gig and it's freezing cold and you've got icicles literally running for miles off your fingers, I've been there, it's not cool. It actually hurts to play when your hands are that cold, they're turning blue. So what you want to do is either just rub them together like this, really, really, really dead simple. That's just going to heat your hands up, get a little bit more warmth into the tips of your fingers and the palms of your hand. And then you want to also do jazz hands, literally just swing them around, go crazy. And the reason why we do this is because it gets the blood circulating around your fingers and around your hands just a little bit faster, so you can literally just go crazy and just swing them around. Obviously, the hands and the fingers are being used to play bass quite a lot, But we also use our forearm, our wrist, our elbow, and our shoulder as well. So we want to make sure that we're practicing and stretching all of this down here. So obviously, when we warm up, I'm going to explain the difference between warming up and stretching in a second. But when we come to warm up, you should have already stretched all of your arm and your hand out. So let's talk about the forearm. And it's really, really dead simple. So basically just have your hand outright, bring it back in, and just gently pull on the forearm here. It's basically going to stretch your elbow as well. Just really, really nice and gently. Once again, just to make sure nothing hurts. You can also put your arm out straight and just bend it in like this. So once again, you don't have to do all of these every single day, but it's good to do at least 2 or 3 of them every time you pick the base up. And just make sure that you're causing no injury to yourself, because nobody wants carpal tunnel or repetitive wrist syndrome or repetitive strain, because that's just not cool, and that's going to seize all your joints up, which is not good. So obviously with the shoulder, we can literally just roll the shoulder anti-clockwise and clockwise. So literally like most of you probably did at school or when you've been to the gym, if you've ever been to the gym, you just literally want to do really, really dead simple stuff like this. And the reason why is because you just want to make sure your muscles are really, really nice and loose. And I've got a shoulder problem because I never used to do any of this. So definitely take my word of advice that it's worth doing just for 10-15 seconds, because it's going to stop you ending up like me. And trust me, you do not want to end up like me. So now that we've kind of stretched out, obviously you've got your other arm and other hand as well. But now that we've stretched out, we can also start to warm up. So one thing we can do, if you have either an apple or a stress ball, just before we start warming up, put it in the palm of your hand and just crush it and squeeze it with the tips of your fingers like this. And this is actually going to help us warm up in just a second. So stress ball in the palm of your hand and then just push down like this. The difference between stretching and warming up then is I class warming up as when we actually play the bass guitar. I class stretching everything that doesn't involve the bass, because we can stretch literally anywhere, but obviously we can't really warm up unless we have the instrument. So when we come to warming up with the instrument, the first thing that's really dead simple is what we call finger per fret. So all we want to do, take our fretting hand, which is my left hand, and we want to push down just on the frets, and we want to go first fret with our first finger, try and use the tip of your finger, then second finger on the second fret, third finger on the third fret, and fourth finger on the fourth fret. We want the thumb to be roughly in the middle of the neck as well, pushing gently against the back of the neck. And what we do with our plucking hand, which is my right hand, if you're using your fingers, we want to go index, middle, because we're playing 4 notes. So index, middle, that's obviously 2 notes. Index, middle, that's another 2 notes. And we put it all together nice and slowly like this, starting on the first fret of the G string. Do it nice and slowly. You don't have to do it as fast as that. You can do it any speed you like. And what you can do if you can't stretch to this to start with is just do the first finger. Take your first finger off, just the second finger. Take your second finger off, third finger. Take your third finger off, fourth finger. And you're all good to go. If you can stretch and keep all the fingers down like this, this is really important because it's going to stretch the palm of your hand out as well, which is actually a really good thing to get used to. This is the most common stretch that we use on the bass guitar, so obviously it's called a warm-up. So first finger, keep the first finger down. Second finger, keep the second finger down. Third finger, keep the third finger down. Fourth finger, keep the fourth finger down. Really, really dead simple. Then we're going to move to the D string, and we're going to try the same thing again. And you'll notice that my wrist and my hand actually starts to curve round more because I've got to stretch slightly higher. So this is going to work out the thumb and also the palm and the wrist. So on the D string, same thing again. Then on the A string, same thing again. And then on the E string, you can see I'm fully tilted over, trying to get the biggest stretch I can. And if you can hold that position and keep that there like that, that is pretty much the hardest stretch you'll ever have to make on bass while playing a song. There are a few others out there, but this is definitely one of them. And it's a really good warm-up to get you started. Try and take your time with it, don't rush it. If you can't keep all the fingers down, take them off. Don't injure yourself before you've literally started playing bass, because that's not a good thing to do. So that was called finger per fret, and we're doing it on the first, second, third, and fourth string, on the G, the D, the A, and the E string. So I've used quite a few terms in this video that you might not have known what I meant by them. So definitely check out my left versus right video and my tuning the bass video, because that's going to really help you to understand what I was on about. And when you're ready, and once you've got all the stretches down, once you've done a little bit of a warm-up, once you're ready after all that, I'll see you in the next video.